Stugotz here for Dell. There's nothing small about your business. It takes a lot of hard work, and it makes a huge difference. As a thank you, during Small Business Month, Dell is offering up to 40% off select PCs with 8th Gen Intel Core processors, plus get a free external hard drive with select PC purchases. Simple to get. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with a small business technology advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL. One more time. Check them out today. It's 877-BUY-DELL.
This is the Dan Levator Show with the Stugotz podcast.
I have in front of me a long list of things to get to. The idea that Cody Fleener, since week 12, he still hasn't passed. He's still not capable in the offseason of passing a concussion protocol. He's been out since week 12. I don't want to get stopped on any of these.
It's Kobe.
Yeah, it's Kobe.
Yeah, fine.
We start out the show with a fine because I named him
Cody is what you called him. Yeah. It's Kobe.
All right. So he's been out. Well, he doesn't know that right now. He's capable of the same mistake right now because he's been in the concussion protocol since week 12 and still can't pass it. Football ended a long time ago. Regardless, DeGrom has a bit of a riddle as he comes back from injury. He threw 45 pitches in the first inning and didn't allow a run.
Yep.
Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You went to a baseball game. You just saw, like, that sounds like a riddle. How the hell do you throw 45 pitches in a first inning and not allow a run? He was done after one inning.
First game back off of injury, so he had a very short stint on the DL, I believe.
What I'm asking you, though, is how do you
20 foul pitches.
If I say to you how, like, that's a riddle. How does a pitcher throw 45 pitches and not allow a run in the inning?
Yeah. He walked 3 guys, 20 foul balls, riddle solved.
Yeah, kind of, except baseball not. Riddle solved, baseball not.
No.
You can't watch that for half an inning and like that.
No, you cannot. No, I watched it for a half inning. I did not like it. No.
All right, so we've got a number of things to get to. LeBron and Tiger and a number of things because I got Chris Bosh's mom being evicted from her home. I can't even imagine what that's like. She was running drugs out of her home. Benedict Cumberbatch saying that he's going to take an equal salary, demand an equal salary, men and women, in his projects. Brooklyn Nine-Nine being saved. But before we get to any of that, these LeBron-MJ comparisons that make their appearance after every damn game, that would have never happened to MJ. Like, why can't we just agree on this? Would you be down with this, Stugotz? Just the universe agreeing. You know what? It doesn't matter who's better. We're splitting hairs. If you say LeBron, that's fine. And if I say MJ, that's fine. We don't need to discuss it anymore. They're very close to being the best. It doesn't matter. Muhammad Ali wasn't actually the greatest. He called himself the greatest. As a boxer, he wasn't actually the greatest. You could have made an argument for any number of people.
No, I would not be fine with this because Jordan's the greatest. Period. End of discussion. And you're taking away, one of the all-time great sports radio debates.
I'd like to take it away forever.
No,
I would like it for it to be gone forever. It's not a great sports radio debate. It's a tired turd.
Yeah. Well, keep it here, please.
No, thank you. I'd like to flush it.
Okay.
So while we're discussing all of that, Guillermo pipes in with, did you see Ryan Reynolds on a Japanese game show?
Korean, fine.
All right, another fine.
Man.
What did you want to get to with Ryan Reynolds?
Well, he was on King of Masked Singer, a very popular Korean game show, as we all know. And the way the show works is it's like it's kind of like The Voice, it seems. So, like, the person's singing a song, but they're wearing, like, a costume and a mask. So that way you can't judge the person on appearance, I'm assuming is why they're wearing a mask. So he was on there, and he was singing Tomorrow from Annie, and he was doing great. And there's, like, for whatever reason, there's, like, 40 judges on this, like, wall full of, like, judge. I can't imagine the budget and what they're paying these people. Because how can you afford to have 40 different judges? But whatever.
It's like having 7 producers.
Yeah. So there's all these judges, and the judges are talking about what a great job he's doing. They're speaking in Korean, so I can only rely on the subtitles, obviously. And they're talking about how great he is at pronouncing all the words, and he's doing such a great job, and he sings. And he has an okay voice. I mean, he's not a great singer. But he was doing great, and then all of a sudden, he goes to the back of the stage, and he takes off his unicorn mask, because he was dressed as a full unicorn, obviously. He takes off his unicorn mask, and it's Ryan Reynolds. And the crowd went wild, and then all the hosts were like trying to take selfies with him like 40 feet away. And that's what he was doing this weekend.
So in the middle of this, because I'm pouring through baseball stats, Stugotz, I'm pouring through Mark Reynolds being, 7 teams he's had multi-home run games for. Peralta opens with 13 strikeouts. That can't happen very often. Ohtani is top 10 in pitching stats and hitting stats. That can't happen very often. But in the middle of that, Guillermo's wearing me out with that and the Fast and the Furious timeline. Mm-hmm. Like he just nonstop. And then while he's doing the Fast and the Furious timeline, Mike Ryan is saying he would be fine with his wife having an affair with Jack White.
Oh, no. You totally took that out of context. No.
Well, what'd you say?
No. If she were to leave me for Jack White and then marry Jack White, and now my ex-wife is married to Jack White, I think I'd be fine with it. I'd make it work.
No chance.
That's okay. So...
Well, how would you make it work? What do you mean you'd make it work?
Look, you can't spend a lifetime saying that you separate the art from the artist, and then all of a sudden that changes when Jack White starts making love to your wife.
They wouldn't want anything to do with you. You're assuming they want to be your friend still.
I'd make it work.
He'd make it work over everyone's objections, like by hanging out at Jack White's house. What are the perks you think you'd be getting from your wife running off with Jack White?
Well,
is he the reason for your divorce, by the way?
I don't know. Let's not make it that, let's not have the cut be that deep.
Wait, are they going to be
Let's say we just grew apart, and then she started dating Jack White.
Why? So you'd be less hurt by it?
Yeah, precisely.
Separated. Okay.
So,
But you think you'd get some perks out of this?
Well, I'm a Third Man Vault member. I'd like to get that comped.
What is that?
$2 is what it is. Guillermo, give me Fast and Furious.
All right, so I found out the last segment of the local hour, that Tokyo Drift, which is the third Fast and Furious movie, in terms of the timeline, doesn't actually fit in there in terms of the third because there were deaths and stuff. So I looked up, Lorenzo sent me, the timeline of the Fast and Furious franchise. All right, so you want to guess it where it fits in, Dan, or not really?
I couldn't possibly care less.
All right, so
I'll
just go over this quickly.
Why it is while I was trying to do sports stuff, you guys were doing Jack White.
It was a very busy last
Stugotz was
segment.
just shouting Marlon Bird again and again, athletes whose name connote both fish and birds.
Yeah, it's the only one.
All right, so the first one is The Fast and the Furious, 2001. Obviously, that was the first movie. Second one, Turbocharge, Prelude, a 2003 video. So that's second in chronology. Most people don't even know about that one. Third, Too Fast, Too Furious. As I revealed, the only one I haven't seen yet, and it took place in Miami, which is weird. Fourth, Los Bandoleros, 2009 short film. I'm assuming that's where we were introduced to Tego, which is who I said, and Don Omar, which is who I said I missed the most in this series of movies. Fifth comes the Fast and Furious. That's the one that came back after years and years of being off. Everyone was highly anticipated. So that's fifth instead of fourth. Then Fast 5 is sixth. Then Fast and Furious 6, that's 7. 8, the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Should have been 3, really 8 out of these 10. Then Furious 7, then The Fate of the Furious. And now there's still some upcoming ones. Interesting, though, right?
Do people find that interesting? Put it on the poll. What Billy just said about the Fast and the Furious timeline. Interesting or not interesting?
I mean, I just learned that there's 3 different videos that I haven't seen yet.
I just learned all they did was take the out. It was The Fast and the Furious, and then it was Fast and Furious. Yeah. That's good. They're good, man.
We also want to get to, we're going to take your calls, 786-456-4837, even though as callers you've stunk and I threaten to ban you every week because of how unfunny you are. But this one should be easy for you. We're making it remedial. We're just asking you to call in and name a name to represent what you believe to be the most average NBA starter. Because we were talking about Marcus Morris outplaying LeBron James yesterday after saying he's probably the guy who bothers him second most in the league after Kawhi. We all mocked him about saying that. Then LeBron has one of the worst playoff games we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Morris is guarding him on 24 of the possessions. LeBron scores 5 points, has 2 assists. Anybody, like that's a doomsday scenario for the Cavs. Like the way they're built, if LeBron has that game, 16 shots, not scoring, not distributing the ball, they're going to lose because that's a one-man team. But what do you do with all of that? That Marcus Morris did that, and now we're looking for the average NBA starter. Like if we go in with the Morris twins, we go in one after another with the Morris twins as We've had, what are the best? Do we have a top 10? We're going to do that next. We're going to do a top 10 list of most thoroughly average names in the NBA. And again, this is not meant as a slight. These players are capable of the kind of game that Marcus Morris had yesterday. But when I think of Morris, I think of average.
Right. You asked me what I do with that. What I do with that is Michael Jordan. That would never happen to him. Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
What's the stat, by the way? It sounds like a dumb one.
Box plus minus.
Yep. How about rings plus minus?
I mean, okay.
6 for MJ, 3 for LeBron.
Stugotz.
Put LeBron's rings in a box and then put MJ's rings in a box and tell me who has more. How's that sound? It's plus 3, by the way.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
It is rare to get breaking Supreme Court sports news during the show, but here we have it. The Supreme Court sports news of the day is the Supreme Court has voted 7-2 to allow gambling, sports gambling throughout the United States to be regulated federally, or if the federal government decides not to, then state by state.
Can't wait to place my first bet.
So we will get experts on here over the course of the show to help us understand what this means, how soon, how fast people will be able to gamble legally on sporting events. This has to be bad news for Vegas, right?
You would think, yeah.
The government's going to tax this the same way it does marijuana. It's an excellent way to make money. Adam Silver's going to get in there, grab his 1%. His 1% is going to be worth a lot. And a lot of people are going to make money on this, just taking basically morality out of the shadows and just saying, bleep it with morality. We basically will look back at what we did with gambling and marijuana the same way we once did to prohibition. We'll be like, what the hell, man? How repressed were we? Like, what do you mean you couldn't just gamble? What do you mean you couldn't just smoke marijuana?
And fly to Boston yesterday. Did you do that? I did. No. Did you get stuck in traffic trying to go from Logan? Did you get stuck in traffic trying to go from Logan Airport to TD Bank Garden? You didn't do that. How come I can't focus on my day yesterday? How come I can't focus on this one game?
Do you have any curiosity as to why that was the game that LeBron James wasn't the GOAT?
I don't have to be curious. Listen, you don't have to be curious when you know. I know what LeBron brings to the table. I know what he's done.
I know what he's done. Why didn't he bring it to the table yesterday?
Yesterday's game. He did not show up yesterday.
To the table yesterday.
Did he show up yesterday? Yes or no? Did he show up yesterday?
Yeah, and he got beat.
I don't think he showed up. I don't think
enough.
He is right, though. It's a great point, though. Like, you don't have to be curious when you know.
That's true.
It's a great point by Stephen A. Yeah.
I'm
never curious. I mean,
put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do you have to be curious when you know? Before we get to the Supreme Court ruling, we've got these callers, 786-456-4837. We are looking for thoroughly average NBA starters. Let's get Mike Ryan's top 10 list of the top 10 thoroughly average names that you associate with starting in the NBA. Again, this is not an insult. To call these players average is not an insult. You are a starter. You're one of the 150 best basketball players in the world. You're an NBA starter. What do you got, Mike Ryan? Number 10.
Brandon Bass.
All-time list Mike put together.
Yes.
I guess this is all-time list. Probably won't go before, the 90s. We're going to get everything post-90s. Number 9.
Jared Dudley.
That's a strong start. That list is strong. Number 8.
The Lopez brothers.
Both of them. Both of them. if you stack them on top of each other, shoulder, one standing on the shoulder of the other, it would still be average.
Right. So is that one person? Does that leave us at 7 or 6?
Counts as 1.
7.
Oh, okay.
Number 6.
Morris twins.
Nice.
Number 5.
Trevor Booker.
Great.
Number 4.
Trevor Ariza. Trevor, very ordinary name, apparently.
What number are we on?
We're on Wilson Chandler's number.
All right.
What number are we on now?
We're on Travis Outlaw's number.
Nice.
And the number 1 most average of the average NBA starters is?
It is Solomon Hill's number.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So can you beat Solomon Hill? Can you do that? 786-456-4837 is the telephone number. We're just going to give you either a buzzer or a game show winning sound. Can you knock off Solomon Hill? Nathan, you're on ESPN Radio.
Yeah, Danny Green.
Tom, you're on ESPN Radio, Tom.
Jameer Nelson.
Ooh, the buzzer is stopping to contemplate.
Is the buzzer for surpassing Solomon Hill?
Yes, you got to surpass Solomon Hill. Oh,
so close, man.
Matt, you're on ESPN Radio.
Kirk Heinrich.
Oh,
wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
What's Solomon Wilcox going to do with this? Got his
It's
name wrong.
Solomon Hill. It's a fun.
Oh, God.
Wrong sport. Wrong everything.
Oh.
Solomon Wilcox.
I've got like
Solid.
$4 in fines already. Been talking for 6 minutes.
6, but no one's counting.
Mike, can you beat Kirk Heinrich?
Hello?
Mike, can you beat Kirk Heinrich?
Kenny Smith.
Ooh. Oh. Insulting. Wow. Gene, you're on ESPN Radio.
Thoroughly average starter is Carmelo Anthony.
There it is. Game's over.
Ponte los patines. Time for some ads.
So it looks like that you'll be able to bet in Jersey in a couple of weeks. They're already set up for this. 3 other states have been set up. It's going to be the fall for those 3 other states, but a couple of weeks in Jersey, and I'll be there in a couple of weeks. I mean, when in Rome.
Stunning that the general region of the Sopranos would be first in on gambling. This, of course, is what makes gambling problematic beyond the moralities. The whole people being killed. That thing. But Supreme Court's like, hey, 7-2. Have at it.
I got the Rockets with a hook tonight. Yeah, first bet. I mean, the lingo, I heard that from a friend.
Look, man, you failed at Mother's Day. I know you did. You're a failure. Father's Day is a whole nother story, though. Doesn't take that much to please Dad. So when the time comes, just go spend some time with him. Food, beer, Buffalo Wild Wings. Tell him Stu got.
Porcello, minus 150 tonight. How about that?
Dan Batard.
Is there any other athlete from any other sport that you can remember that played all the time with a toothpick?
No, it's crazy. Nobody would do that today. And was it one of those cinnamon toothpicks? You remember I used to have those in grade school. I used to love those in tinfoil.
Oh, the flavored ones.
I would have traded Stormtroopers and stuff for those toothpicks, those flavored spicy toothpicks.
Stugotz.
Stormtroopers?
No, like the little Stormtrooper action figures. I made such a great trade in high school. I mean, I got reprimanded. A mother got called in because I traded some fat kid. I gave him a single Dorito for a Stormtrooper action figure, and it became like, you know.
Oh, you robbed them.
Yeah, I was 35 years old.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
The Supreme Court has ruled you are now allowed to gamble, or very soon you will be allowed to gamble. 7-2, you will be able to gamble on sporting events. Adam Silver is not going to be a first follower on this. He has already said, I want in on gambling. I want a percentage of the take in our sport. And I want to pair the idea of moralizing and getting into business with dirty things in sports with the Matt Patricia story. Did you read any of the details that came out over the weekend? And this is what happens, Stugotz, and it's necessary. It's necessary for women, for victims. It is necessary for America in this year of #MeToo. But this is exactly what happens when the NFL proclaims itself the moral authority on something it's not equipped to be a moral authority on. The details this weekend on Matt Patricia, where there were 5 witnesses on an assault case. Now, you could sit here and say, look, man, it was 22 years ago. It was spring break. What are we dredging that up for if you want to do that? He was indicted. Nobody knew about it. There were 5 witnesses. These things are impossible to prosecute sometimes. And eventually, the victim in this case, or the alleged victim, just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And so now you've got a new head coach in the league. And this is happening only because you declared yourself a pure moral authority that could adjudicate better than the American justice system, domestic and sexual abuse cases, which the American justice system has no shot at. Right. But Roger Goodell and football said, no, we'll handle it from here. And so what they do in being a moral authority is, hey, we don't need a conviction to punish you for bringing the stain upon the league. It's the arrest that's enough. We don't have to do innocent until proven guilty. We don't need a conviction. Well, in 22 years ago, you got an indictment against an NFL, what is now an NFL coach. And now you've got reports that this team didn't know anything about it, that the league didn't know, that they're doing background studies. Well, not just this team, the Patriots are also saying the same, right? They didn't know anything about it. I know, and all of this was dismissed, but what I am saying to you is this is only a story because the NFL insists on giving you the idea that it is a pure entity that could legislate morals. So people are looking for it and saying, here, do something with this? The idea that nobody would know in football, that this is getting grandfathered in, this allegation, that this guy would climb to the height of the profession without a league that has now declared itself an authority on these things, doing background checks. Like, how not thorough are your background checks if you can't reveal an indictment? Like, how does that happen? And I'm telling you how it happens. These people are not equipped for this task. If our government and
they're not equipped for a background check, though, that's simple. So you're right. I'm flabbergasted over the fact that they're equipped for a background check, Dan. They are equipped to do that. They might not be equipped to lead on this particular thing.
How flimsy are the background checks? What did we do? We just called Belichick?
Right. Well, what'd Belichick do, though?
What Belichick do?
What did Bob Kraft do?
I don't know how you handle these things. Okay, I know what I'm saying. I'm offering criticism without a solution. But if I had a solution, it would be football. Get your beak out of all this stuff. You're not qualified.
Deadspin posted an article saying they found the indictment after 30 seconds of searching Nexus.
That's where you are, though. You've declared yourself a foremost American corporate leader on adjudicating domestic abuse and sexual battery. Good luck with that. I don't trust you to tell me what a catch is. Like, how? Like, this is what you deserve when you make yourself this pious, when this righteous, this self-righteous.
You don't think they would have found themselves in maybe not a scandal of this size, but considering the Me Too movement, which in many respects, maybe a lot of this was spurred by how the league handled the Ray Ricing, where it became a huge national talking point. But I kind of feel like this would get swept up in all that Me Too stuff as well.
Yes, but that's why it's happening now, is what I'm saying. It's the combination of the two things. It's the Me Too stuff combined with the NFL declaring itself a moral authority on things like the Ray Rice incident. Like, that's how it happens. I just don't, when you step back from that, if the greater good is actually to bring attention to victims and causes, then you're doing that. But the NFL at every turn has made Roger Goodell paid the way he is, paid so much that now he's got a contract clause that disguises how much he's paid because they don't want you to know how much he is paid. That is to be an image consultant, glorified PR agent, shield for the league. That's how and why he's made that money. So are you willing to be the martyr on this cause? You declare yourself a moral authority and you're going to step in it again and again and again because you've got no shot at doing this better than the American justice system when you can't even, your teams can't even, the genius of your league doesn't have a background check. That the genius of your league
that would pick this up.
Would pick this up, brings him through the pipeline, and at no point is it being addressed by anybody publicly. Like this, I don't think that this would have been a story 10 years ago. So maybe the greater good is served, but you can't tell me in good conscience that Roger Goodell has chosen to take the image hit because of the greater good. Like that's not what they're doing there. What they're doing is they're bumbling around in an area where they don't have the means, the ability, they don't have the jurisdiction, they don't have anything. They're like Major League Baseball coming down here to investigate steroid use by just going to tanning clinics and handing out money to the people who would give them documents.
He's been a pretty high-profile guy for a while. I'm wondering why he took, because it seems like a fairly easy, accessible story, why he took this job.
It's easy to say now. It's easy to say now. This is not something, you think he's the only one?
No.
Okay, like it's easy to say now. We're all going through our sexual histories. All men with power are going through their sexual histories now. I don't know why this came out now. Maybe because he's just got a top job. Maybe because reporters just did their job. Very basically did their job. But very basically, the Detroit Lions did not.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him, "Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash." His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
Dan Batard.
This actually happened off air. It makes me want to punch Stugotz in the ear.
What?
Stugotz.
Mike Ryan asked me, do we want Dan Marley? And Stugotz's reflex response, just spit at me, was Thunder Dan. And then he realizes in a rare moment of self-awareness just what a dope he is. And he says the next thing that comes out of his mouth is, I can't help myself. Like he's an addict.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Dan Wallach is a gaming and sports attorney. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Gambling's legal. Sports gambling. Get in touch with us through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed at Le Batard Show, at Stugotz790. Life special events, call for a beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen Gerber or Daisy, starting at just $29.99, you'll also get a free vase. For details, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
The Supreme Court has ruled 7-2 to allow states to decide on legalized sports betting. We will get an expert on here in about 15 minutes to tell you what that means, but I think what it means is very soon you'll be able to just call up on your computer a sports book.
I'm getting this from Brian Windhorst. He says Congress can regulate sports gambling directly, but if it elects not to do so, to your point, the state is free to act on its own.
I'm very excited, and it's not because I'm a degenerate who wants to gamble on sports all the time. I happen to work in an industry that's going to profit immensely from this decision.
Yep. Their money is going to start falling out of the sky now. It's really surprising that it took this long for this to happen. And Adam Silver did what no other leader across the big sports was willing to do, which is he prepared everyone for this. Hey, this is coming. We want it. We want to share in the profit of this. Basketball has just created a side business with whatever percentage. Major League Baseball wants in on this too. Major League Baseball is lobbying, trying to cash in on sports betting.
Well, let's also not be hyperbolic when it comes to Adam Silver. Like, he started a dialogue, but what he's trying to do is very difficult to actually do and get a profit of this gambling.
Yes. But he went and he did the thing that risked unpopularity or stigma. He put his voice on, yes, I want gambling. I mean, before that, the biggest scandal of his predecessor's lifetime was an official, jailed for fixing games or for, working, just Tim Donaghy saying flatly or going to jail for fixing games, which is Now you get, I think, and we'll talk to this legal expert about it in 10 minutes, but I think what you're going to get is possibility of that being less possible. Tim Donaghy being less possible because you're going to get regulations. You're going to get like real hands-on. You're not doing all this stuff in the shadows anymore. It's out in the light.
Right.
And so you're going to, my guess is it'll be easier to manage some of that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you're still going to have stuff, right? There's still going to be stuff to deal with. Like a team loses, it's a close game, referee makes a questionable call, everyone starts, barking at the ref, and, which side did he have? All that kind of stuff. I mean, they've left themselves open to a lot of stuff here, man.
But
we can gamble.
There's a lot of money, right? There's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money in it, but there are still match-fixing scandals in places where gambling is legal. They probably don't have the regulations that the United States will have, but it doesn't erase that possibility.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not saying that for a second. I'm just saying it'll be better. No, you can't erase that possibility. I'm just saying that, I'm speaking out of my foot. We'll talk to a guy in 10 minutes who knows something, and we'll see if we get some actual knowledge and information to you. The Warriors, speaking of gambling, are starting this series an underdog. They are an underdog tonight. I did not think that was something that I would see. Healthy Warriors. So the Rockets have done us the courtesy, at the very least, of providing some doubt because they are favored by point spread to win where the money is tonight. Yes. And I did not think that I would see that, given that the Warriors have lost 3 times since Durant got there in the playoffs total, and now they need to lose 4 times in 7 games.
Question is, how long will that doubt sit with you? Like, that's for me, because I think it will be over by halftime. I think Golden State, like, tonight is one of those things where a team is geared up their entire season and their entire roster to play the NBA champions. And I think tonight they just let them know, kind of like LeBron does occasionally, hey, you're not even close. You're not even close. You spent all this time, all this money, all these resources to try to compete with us. And guess what? You're not even close. A half into the game. I think Golden State's going to blow them out tonight. I think they're going to win that series of 4 or 5 games. I really do.
You're coming strong. He needed to get his prediction out there. Why are you guys laughing? Just because of how important it was for him to get that prediction? Is it just because he's all excited about this gambling talk and he's trying to figure out how to, get home and immediately bet Warriors in 4, Warriors in 5? Is this what's happening?
I'm trying to think of a number of different angles right now. I want to get in the business. How do I do this?
You came very aggressively there. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Your verbiage was unusually strong. You really don't do that kind of leave yourself out there prediction. You do more general stuff. Oh, that'll never happen within the next 7 years, and then everybody forgets about it.
Yeah.
You don't go that aggressive with the first half tonight is going to be a Golden State blowout. I've got it 70-45.
I mean, gambling. I'm feeling frisky, man. I am.
20 minutes ago, you said you had the Rockets plus a hook.
Yeah, I was just, I was just throwing that out there. It was just the hook term is what I was going for, is the joke. Yeah, but I mean, I'm telling you, Golden State, man, Golden State, they're going to win. I'm going to take here first quarter, first half, third quarter, entire game, over for Kevin Durant points. I mean, I'm going to take everything. I'm going to take every Golden State bet that's out there tonight. I am taking. Now, I don't know how to do this. Someone's going to have to teach me how to do it, but I'm going to do it.
You seem to really know the way around these things as a first-time gambler.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Dan Batard.
People have told me before, when I was younger, that I looked like George Clooney. I'm serious. When I was younger.
Stugotz.
You have a booger in your right nostril.
So does Clooney.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Dan Wallach going to be there in just a second. He's a partner at the law firm Becker and Polikoff, and he is also a gaming and sports attorney. Here's your SportsCenter update. Stanley Cup playoffs. The Capitals devoured the Lightning 6-2 to take a 2-0 series lead in the Eastern Conference Final. Game 2 tonight in the Western Conference Final as the Golden Knights take on Winnipeg. The Jets lead 1-0 in that series. And finally, a Tesla sedan with a semi-autonomous autopilot feature rear-ended a fire department truck at 60 miles per hour without braking before impact. The investigation is still ongoing to see if the autopilot feature was entirely to blame. Tesla is awaiting to receive data from the vehicle. The driver only sustained a broken ankle.
Accidents happen, but that accident wasn't our fault. I'm Elon Musk.
The 2018 NFL schedule has been released for a few weeks now, and the time is now to jump on tickets. Vivid Seats has you covered. Download the free Vivid Seats app today to get your 2018 NFL tickets. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
This character keeps developing, and now everybody that got to know the last Elon Musk is totally thrown off by this new movie.
That sounded a lot more like Mickey Mouse than it did like Elon Musk.
Something went down the wrong pipe. I'm Elon Musk.
All right. So before we get to giving you this Supreme Court gambling information, happy 29th birthday to Rob Gronkowski.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
He's already planning his birthday party 40 years from now.
Oh, yeah. The big one.
Dan Wallach, as Stugotz told you, is a gaming and sports attorney. We've talked to him before about this. And the Supreme Court has just ruled 7-2 to basically allow sports gambling or allow the states to have jurisdiction over sports gambling if the federal government doesn't take it. So, Dan, thank you for joining us. Explain to us what this means. What just happened here?
The Supreme Court struck down as unconstitutional the federal law that prevents states from legalizing sports betting. So the court didn't just legalize sports gambling everywhere. It removed the restriction for state lawmakers. So now any state that wants to create a sports betting environment for their casinos and racetracks can go forward without any restrictions or prohibitions under federal law. And we'll begin to see state legislatures in states like New York and Delaware, begin to move forward on this. So it will create a nationalized legal sports gambling environment.
What do you expect the states to do?
Any state that wants to have it can move forward right now. Beginning in early January, we saw 20 states introduce bills to legalize sports betting that were contingent upon the Supreme Court decision. Now that the Supreme Court has ruled, I think we'll see those states begin to expedite their consideration of those bills and maybe sign a few of them into law. So by the time the NFL football season begins, we could have anywhere from 10 to 12 states that have legal sports wagering. States like New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Mississippi, any state that wants to have it. Massachusetts may be another, Rhode Island, but not our home state of Florida. That one may take a little bit longer.
When can I gamble?
You could gamble now on any website you want. It's never been, forbidden fruit. Because through the magic of the internet, you can go to these offshore sites and place wagers. The problem is you do not have any consumer protections or recourse should something go wrong, and you're also violating the law. Now, with sports betting becoming legal and regulated, I think you'll be able to do it in channels that are going to protect your money a little bit better, and you won't have to worry about violating the law.
What changes do you expect to come with regulation?
You're going to see the black market, this $150 billion black market it won't be eliminated entirely, but you'll see a large chunk of that move into legal and regulated markets. So overall, it will create more interest in sports, more sports gambling. It will change the way that people consume and watch sports. The networks will probably have gambling shows preceding the games. Newspapers like your Miami Herald or the New York Post might have greater content generated to sports betting. It's going to generate and power, interest in the games and lead to greater fan engagement. And in turn, you'll probably see an uptick in TV and other radio and streaming ratings. So this overall will generate greater interest in sporting events because it doesn't matter what the score is, there will always be a bettable event, even in a blowout.
If you're just joining us, this is gaming and sports attorney Dan Wallach. He's a partner at the law firm Becker and Poliakoff. And the Supreme Court has ruled 7-2 to basically, the simplest way to put it is gambling soon. So the Supreme Court said gambling soon. And so the states least likely to ever have it, do you feel like you have a good grasp on that? How far away are we from all 50 states being cool with this?
Our lifetimes. We will never have 50 states legalizing sports betting. Forget about it in Utah, all right, with the Mormons. I mean, forget it. It will never pass. And in Florida, the prominence of Disney and the lobbying influence of Disney, I think, will keep it off the drawing board for at least a couple of years, because you're going to see a lot of these battles playing out in different states where, let's say, the Indian tribes and the racetracks and the casinos are all going to battle over who gets the exclusive right to offer it. So some of the intramural battles, which sometimes play out in gambling legislation, I think are going to delay the rollout of sports betting in certain states. And, of course, the leagues are now, getting involved in the conversations, and the leagues like the NBA and Major League Baseball, they want a cut of the action. The leagues believe that they deserve, 1% of the handle because they've created this product, and the leagues will also, incur greater compliance and regulatory expenses and investigative expenses. So while the leagues and the casinos, battle it out over what the laws should look like, I think that will delay the full nationalization of sports betting. But certainly this year we should have anywhere between 6 to 12 states. We'll never have 50. And until the leagues and the casinos can find a consensus on the key issues, it may take a little bit longer to even have a majority of states with legal sports betting. Could be 3 years.
Dan, how much money could this mean to a particular state? How much money?
It depends on how expansive the casino industry is. You take Florida by way of example. We have 30 licensed racetracks and racinos. It could be huge, not just in tax revenue. The tax revenue is just one piece of it. Maybe in a state like Florida, we're looking at an 8-figure amount annually, which is not a game changer, but it does drive visitation, and it drives tourism to the state of Florida. So the overall economic impact is going to be tremendous. But if you're going to view it just strictly in terms of how much tax revenue will be created from sports betting, probably not as much as people expect. But the overall impact from the boost to the gaming industry and to tourism can't be underestimated.
What do you imagine this is going to look like, Dan? What do you imagine it's going to look like? Like, how are people are going to be able to go where and place a bet?
Is it just casinos? Is it racetracks? Like, are we going to turn the dog track into a sports book?
Absolutely. It will take place in two forms or two venues. Land-based casino and racetrack venues will be the first movers because most state legislatures will likely want to protect their in-state license holders first before opening it up to anyone else. So the casinos and the racetracks will be the first places to have it, and then eventually you will see more of a broader online capability where you could see internet companies partnering with casinos and racetracks. I mean, the goal here is to eliminate the black market, and the only way to really accomplish that is by making it as easy as possible for customers to bet, and by forcing them to drive 20 miles or 30 miles to go to a racetrack is not the most efficient way of accomplishing it. I think we're eventually headed to like a DraftKings or a FanDuel type of scenario where in most states you will be able to place wagers on your mobile phone or on an app as easy as you could set your fantasy sports lineup. But we're not quite there yet. Certain states are going to have that right out of the gate, but in others it's going to be land-based only. But certainly in 5 years we will see predominantly a mobile aspect to this, and we might even see in-stadium wagering in those states that are progressive enough to allow it.
This is a big day for sports, correct?
It's the biggest sports law decision that the Supreme Court has issued in my lifetime, outside of those antitrust cases. But certainly there's no decision issued by the Supreme Court in my lifetime that will have a bigger impact on the business side of the sports industry.
Is there any going back from this? Like, now that this has been opened up, we're not going to go back to prohibition, right? Once this door is open, once the Supreme Court just opened it, and it's open now for good, right?
Yeah, but that's only step one. The Supreme Court did not legalize sports betting. States are now permitted to make policy decisions as to whether those states wish to have legal sports betting or keep it prohibited. So in the vast majority of states right now, all forms of gambling that are not expressly permitted are prohibited. So sports betting is still illegal in Florida and in 46 out of the 50 states. So those states will have to convene, and their legislators will make policy choices as to whether or not this is a good thing. This is all about advancing states' rights. It is not forcing sports betting on states. It is just giving states the opportunity for the first time to decide whether or not they wish to legalize sports betting for their citizens. Before today, the states had their hands tied, and the argument advanced at the Supreme Court was that binding the states in this way violates the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. Now, with the federal law struck down, states can now proceed in any way they wish. They could legalize, or they could keep sports gambling prohibited, as is currently the case in most states.
Dan, we got less than 30 seconds here. Who hates today's ruling the most?
Very few people. Even the sports leagues privately love today's decision because it will increase fan engagement, it will increase TV ratings, TV revenues. The only people who I think hate today's decision are those who are morally or ethically opposed to any gambling expansion, and certainly those organizations that work with problem gamblers and compulsive gamblers. They certainly have good reason to have mixed feelings about today's decision, but virtually every stakeholder sees this as a positive development, even the leagues.
Those feelings wouldn't be mixed from those people, Dan. They're not happy about this.
No. But I think it's more beneficial to work with state legislatures to create protections and resources to help them, because right now those who have gambling addictions and bet illegally in offshore markets do not receive any programs from these illegal operators. So to the extent there's a mixed feeling about it, I think those compulsive gambling organizations want to work with state lawmakers to create programs and have resources allocated to help people. So I'm not saying there isn't a downside to this, because there certainly is a downside for those people and their families that suffer from addictions to gambling. But now, hopefully state lawmakers will adopt sensible regulations and mandate requirements upon casinos and racetracks to help people who have a problem, either by excluding them or allowing friends or family members to exclude them from any gambling participation. No such mechanism or resource exists in the illegal market. So that's sort of one of the silver linings, at least to that group.
Thank you, Dan. We appreciate the insight, sir.
Thank you very much for having me on, Dan. Pleasure as always.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
There's a belief that there's gold in the heads of bald men, so police in Mozambique are warning bald men.
Stugotz.
I'd cut my own head off if I were bald. See if there's gold in there. I like money.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
HBO pours a lot of its money into content, and a lot of people are doing this now, where Netflix is giving power to celebrities over writing, over directing, in a way that allows them to be creative with their content, with funding. And HBO is doing it as well as anybody, right? Because Game of Thrones is basically a feature-length movie every week, is what HBO is pouring its subscription rates back into the content.
Yes.
The show Barry is really good. They gave this guy Hader. Where do you know him from? Bill
Hader?
Yeah.
You probably know him from Tropic Thunder, where he played Tom Cruise's assistant. He was a pretty, I think, close to all-time status on SNL. And he's a great impressionist. He had a really good run on SNL.
He's a great actor. He's funny, and he wrote and directed and produced the whole idea of just a disinterested hitman who looks like him, and he's just visually fun. His disinterest, he looks standing there. I don't know if anyone gives off more disinterest than Bill Hader just standing there.
Right. Just being Bill Hader.
Right. And so he's a hitman who's kind of disillusioned with the job and trying to get out. And it's a dark comedy and it's really funny.
Yeah, I love how dark it is. Just the thought alone of a hitman trying to make it as an actor in Hollywood and going to who's really good in that show? Henry Winkler.
Yes, he's great in that show. He is tremendous in that show. And so I've just gotten there. It's just in the first season, right? But I just marvel at anybody willing to take those kinds of risks with content, because you got to go get, how much money do you have to give? Game of Thrones, I can't even imagine what that costs. I can't even imagine what the production budget on something like Game of Thrones
one episode is probably 2 seasons worth of Barry's budget.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know how even understanding subscription models I don't understand how it is that you can make something like Game of Thrones for television, where it's so epic that I'd like to. When are we going to get on? Who's that guy at the Grateful Dead? What's the name of the guy who?
George Martin.
Yeah.
When
are we getting him on to talk sports with you? The guy who was following you around the entire Grateful Dead concert.
Oh, we had a blast. He wants to do it. He wants to do it in the fall. I reached out to him. I still have his card here. George R.R. Martin.
That's quite the filing system you've got there.
Well, I still have the card. I'm not going to lose this card, but I reached out to him via email. He said I'd prefer to do it during the football season, before the football season. I think he fancies himself as some sort of football expert.
Okay, so he wants to talk football. We'll trade him.
Yes.
We'll ask him a Game of Thrones question in exchange for a football question.
I floated that idea by him, and he likes it. I am reading here that, according to a new report from Variety magazine, the final 6 episodes of Game of Thrones will cost a staggering $15 million apiece.
This really is a golden age of television. It's incredible, the budgets that are being thrown around. And wait till Netflix actually starts making good original movies.
And it's been around $10 million per episode.
Although I will admit, I saw the recent Adam Sandler movie on Netflix.
It was good.
It was the one with Chris Rock. Wasn't terrible.
No, Adam Sandler.
Really? My daughter stopped watching it after a half hour.
I enjoyed it, and I was approaching it from a baseline, which is, this is Adam Sandler and Netflix. It's going to be trash. But it wasn't trash. I chuckled.
Adam Sandler. What is it? Punch Drunk Love?
Well, yeah, several years ago, a serious turn for Adam Sandler.
We've lowered our expectations, though, on Sandler movies, right? Like, at this point, you'll just take a chuckle.
Well, they're a punchline, but I'm talking about Adam Sandler. The last 10 years of Adam Sandler's career has been different than what the punchline was. Maybe not the last 10 years. The last 5 years?
Oof, man, there's a lot of bad. Once Grown Up started, and I kind of see where these movies are going. You always kind of just casted your friends, and it was always basically like, let's book a vacation through this Hollywood budget.
Let's go with Kevin James.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then the Netflix movies came, and it just started. It was on the wrong side. You can never be on the right side of offensive, but forget on the line sometimes. You always have Rob Schneider.
Wait a minute. Guillermo, is there a right side of offensive? Can you be on the right side of offensive?
He always had Rob Schneider playing Native Americans and Native Hawaiians. It was a bizarre. Why does really Rob need every job?
He's got range, man.
Do you think that's a fun existence for poor Rob? Because it seems like it might be. Except that maybe it's not.
But this movie didn't have Rob Schneider playing an ethnic character, and there was opportunities there, so I'm glad that they decided against it.
But do you realize that Adam Silver taking a dramatic turn late in life toward more creative things? Oh, for the love of God. Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Is about as ridiculous as Rob Schneider doing it.
Yes.
But did you watch this? But this movie wasn't very serious. It was him and Chris Rock, and it was the usual Sandler hijinks. Hell, he was doing a voice, and he even dressed up in drag to play his great-grandmother at one point. But it wasn't that bad, considering I'm saying.
The bar is very low.
What I'm saying is a recipe for a terrible Sandler movie, but it wasn't that bad.
Why would Schneider not enjoy this? Why wouldn't he like this? I mean, guy's hanging around with movie stars, his friends, he's making movies, someone's paying him decent money to do so. Why wouldn't he like it?
I'm just imagining Adam Silver now as the water boy and Little Nicky.
Dan Batard.
That was Will Smith's magic wand for a long time. Just get a bunch of things on the screen that people will notice, and I could just be among them. Hell, that's my trick, too. I surround myself with funny-looking and funny-acting people so that people won't notice that I'm kind of dry by comparison. Like all of you weirdos. Like, that's what I do. I'm surrounded by orcs. I'm sitting here blaming Will Smith, and all I'm doing is seeing him right in the mirror.
Stugotz.
I'm jealous now of Will Smith because he did it so much better. I'm just sitting here with you and my dad.
I'm your orc.
My dad and a troll.
That's pretty good.
That was good. I mean, I finger pointed him. I've arrived at a point where I'm celebrating jokes against me.
Yes, I just called you a troll, and Stugotz saluted me by pointing one of his sausage fingers at me.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We have made people insane with these Adam Sandler takes.
I had a sentence to go there. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Stugotz is insistent. He wants to talk about LeBron versus MJ. We've got tonight the game that we've been waiting for all season, right? We've been sitting around waiting for this game all season.
Yep, this is it. The big one.
And Stugotz says that it's going to be over by halftime. That Golden State, Stugotz has announced that this is the Golden State statement game. You've been chasing us. Look, man, Draymond Green is an unusual character in that he's the third or fourth best player on that team, but he's very obviously their emotional leader. And all offseason, he was talking in a way that gave no dilution to the idea of we're the best. We know we're the best. Nobody can come close to us. We're going to run this thing for a while.
I believe that. I mean, don't you?
I think most people do, but the betting favorite tonight, as the Supreme Court rules on betting 7-2 today, the betting favorite tonight in tonight's game is the Houston Rockets. The Golden State Warriors, who have lost all of 3 games since Kevin Durant got there in the playoffs, are an underdog tonight.
Imagine Adam Silver diligently preparing water on the sideline of a crappy football team.
Are you not surprised that the Warriors are an underdog here?
I am surprised the Warriors are an underdog in tonight's game because I happen to think like this is the night where a champion, an all-time great team tells the other team you're not even close to us. I think that's what Golden State's going to do tonight. I think they're going to go out of their way to blow the Rockets out.
Repeatedly dating Drew Barrymore because she lost her memory.
What the hell does that mean?
Out of their way.
What does that mean?
Hey,
go out of their way? That everyone on the court is trying maximum hard tonight.
No, going out of your way means this. When you're in the fourth quarter of a game and there's maybe 6 or 7 minutes to go and you know you've got the game, it's over. Okay, you're up by 18 points, you're golden, it's over. And normally you would take Durant and Draymond and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry out. Not tonight. Tonight they stay in and they win by 36.
Singing 8 crazy nights.
How are you this confident all of a sudden and such a supporter of the Golden State Warriors when you've been ripping Kevin Durant for 2 seasons for joining that team? And now you're making it. You're creating it so you can win from all angles. If he loses, you are going to crush him at every turn. But you've never been so confident making any predictions in your life as the one you're presently making, where you're saying the Warriors in the first half tonight are going to take out the Rockets, dismantle them in a way like LeBron did Toronto, telling them this thing that you've tried to get to all season, yeah, it's not real. We're a lot better than you.
Leading a football team of prison misfits.
Now, LeBron did that on the final moment of that game 1. They didn't have a lead the entire time. LeBron, I'm telling you that Houston is going to feel it from Golden State within the first 12 minutes of tonight's game.
I'm surprised to hear you say that. I really am.
Like, they might, after 12 minutes, I'm telling you, like, D'Antoni might say, hey, I probably should rest James Harden for game 2.
Mike, I figured it out, though, because this is nuts what he's doing here. He's pressing the gas pedal very hard on this. And I'm not sure why he's that confident, but I think it might be because just how much he's been scorching Chris Paul that he can't have Chris Paul advance, and he doesn't think very much of Chris Paul. So this entire prediction is based on burying Chris Paul.
Yes, but you're honestly like that can't be the expectations. What you need to say is it's going to be a close series, and then if the Rockets fail in 4 or 5, then you absolutely destroy Chris Paul because you're covered on your Kevin Durant stuff because in your personal record book, no matter what he does,
right,
it's not going to count.
Yes, this is all about Chris Paul for me. You guys have figured it out. It is all about crushing Chris Paul for me.
Having a universal remote that lets him travel back in time.
Wait a minute. Mike, you think that Stugotz is just trying to position himself to be most right about all things, and because he's locked Kevin Durant in the personal record book of never having won a title, he's got some safety there so he can roam around with his predictions and still be some semblance of consistent when the results come in?
Anything Stugotz does in any walk of life is to protect his own self-interest.
Getting in a classic will they, won't they with Miss Vaughn.
Mike is right about that. And what I'm saying is that Kevin Durant, okay, you guys are right. I've already kind of put him in there, no championships in my personal record. But what this will do, if this plays out, is it will kind of confirm what I've been saying all along, that what Kevin Durant did was take the easy path. That because Houston is right? Like everyone's saying, this is the contender for the Golden State Warriors. And if Golden State beats them by 4 or 5, my Chris Paul takes stay intact, but Kevin Durant doesn't change. This only lends to what I've been saying about Kevin Durant. Look how easy it is for Kevin Durant and this team going up against the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
Being tormented by Jack Nicholson, his anger management coach.
Are all of your predictions based only on self-interest? Are all predictions that you make?
What else would you base them on?
Heaven help Kevin Durant if Chris Paul ends up winning this series, though. The Armageddon coming his way.
Fighting Bob Barker on a golf course.
Aquí lo que importa es el catch.
I thought about that, Mike. I've thought about it.
Ryan! I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Dan Batard.
Kids, listen to me. Every day somebody comes up to me, doctors, lawyers, college students. What do I need to do what you're doing? And the answer to that is hire your father and a troll.
Stugotz.
You literally just told a couple of kids that. I'm not joking.
Yes, I just told a couple of kids that in the hallway. I just realized this is a moment of huge self-loathing because I'm sitting here ripping Will Smith because he's done all of this so much better than I have. He's Will Smith. Look at me. Conquering AM radio. It's not exactly the future like Netflix. Will Smith is in bed with an orc and Netflix, and I'm here fighting Rob Manfred with a troll.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz's weekend observations are coming in 15 minutes. We lead off the noon Eastern hour with Stugotz's weekend observations, but here's a little bit of a primer on what happened this weekend with the funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is brought to you by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Chris, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Our friend Jim Tom Sula, who's the defensive line coach for the Washington Redskins, was doing a rookie camp drill where he was working a player, and the player was hopping back and forth, and he was hopping back and forth with them, and it was just a funny video of him hopping back and forth.
A lot of people sent us Jim Tom Sula dancing. Jim Tom Sula, good to have him back in our lives. Billy, what's the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
In a game against the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Sandy Leon struck out and ended up on third base at the end of the play.
What happened? They just threw the ball down the right field line?
He struck out, swung a miss. They threw the ball down the line, run scored. He ends up on third base. And he's not exactly swift of foot.
Got an RBI.
No, you don't get an RBI.
I saw on Twitter that he was awarded an RBI. A run definitely scored.
No, that can't be an RBI there, can it?
I'll look it up. I saw on Twitter that...
All right.
Twitter's never wrong, so...
Exactly.
Roy.
Another dinosaur-sized alligator walking across a golf course, this time in South Carolina.
See, they want their land back, man. It's a problem. They were here before us, and they want their stuff back, and they want us to stop putting, like, bunkers in it, because they're like, no, I prefer swampland.
Between the alligators and robots, like, we're really doomed, right?
Yes, we are. It's good that we have this time now to recognize their power in real time. Sharks, too. Sharks, the dinosaur of the sea. If they have the home field advantage on anything, we're going to lose as the top of the food chain.
But we're not exactly doing anything about it. We're empowering them somehow.
I don't think we mean to empower them. These things, was that one pregnant?
I'm on it.
We're making robots.
I know, but alligators around here, the alligators in this place, sometimes you will find a family of German tourists inside an alligator down here in a swamp. You're like, how'd that get there?
A whole family, huh?
That didn't actually happen. It was just a couple of German tourists. Damn, I should have gone, actually. The tourists were from the Ukraine.
Elon Musk thinks we actually already built the robots and they created this whole simulation. That's what our life is. We're just a video game.
You definitely identified the problem with that.
Mike, what was the funny? Thanks for all your support, Stugotz. What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
I follow Cole Beasley, Cowboys wide receiver, on all social media. And I was stunned when he posted something about his hip-hop album, so I investigated and I gave it a listen. Not terrible, considering it's a Cole Beasley hip-hop album.
Stugotz, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
All mine were taken. I'm very upset about it.
You can come up with your own observation.
Well, I do have one. Did you see the Giants-Pirates game over the weekend?
I did not.
A fan caught a ball with his cup of beer. That's all I got.
You didn't really have anything at all. Wow.
Unfunny weekend.
I learned this weekend. This is not something that happened this weekend, but I learned it this weekend. Ahmad Rashad had Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson as groomsmen in his wedding.
Character issues.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Dan Batard.
America is addicted to its technology, and it's really unhealthy.
I keep having this discussion with my wife because she is on that phone nonstop. And what I have asked for our family to do moving forward is let's figure out a time where all of us put our phones away and none of us use them till the next morning.
Stugotz.
Yeah, but nobody wants to be with you.
That just dawned on me. Thanks, Dan.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you're just joining us, the Supreme Court has ruled 7-2 in favor of the idea of states can make their own decisions on legalized gambling. So we are headed. It's a landmark day in sports news. The sports business is about to be even more booming when sports gambling is taken out of the shadows. And Stugotz was lamenting during the break, and we'll get to his weekend observations in a second. But Stugotz, in a moment, I caught him in a moment of sadness. And It wasn't just because he was looking at the funniest things from the sports weekend and said, man, it hurts to have an unfunny weekend and then watch all four of your things from the list get taken off the board.
Right.
That was one reason he was sad. But the other reason he's sad is because he had this dirty habit in private, and now everyone's going to have access to it. And he's like, man, I liked it better when it was a shadowy thing.
I did.
I actually overheard him saying that.
Yes, I liked when gambling lived in the shadows, man. I liked that. I like that feeling, and now it's just going to be like everyone just walking around. Hey, who do you got? Hey, who do you got? Hey, who do you got?
Put it on the poll. Did you like it better? We've had 5 minutes of legalized gambling. The Supreme Court just ruled on it. Stugotz is already tired of it. He wanted to be the first guy that grew tired of this thing.
I, too, am over this whole thing. I mean, having to go and send a Western Union MoneyGram to somebody with the last name of Bone in the Philippines, that was a rite of passage.
Yes.
Now you're just going to open up an app?
Correct.
Get out of here.
I want to feel like I'm on the fringes of doing something wrong. I do.
I want to have to Google how to spell Manila, Philippines.
I just want to feel dirty.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Did you like gambling better when it was in the shadow? Time now for Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Download the free Vivid Seats app today to get your tickets. Dan, 65 and a 69 over the weekend at the Players' Championship. You know what that means? Golf is back and black.
Nice.
This year, for Mother's Day, I sent my wife and our 2 beautiful daughters to New York. Girls' weekend. Had the house to myself the entire weekend. A gift she thinks is for her, but was really for me.
Heady play.
When she got home, I gave her the greatest gift of all. No sex. Waste of a shave. Boston Celtics. What the hell? When the Celtics eventually win a championship, will Prokhorov get a ring?
That's a good line. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. When the Celtics eventually win a title, will they give a ring to Prokhorov?
I mean, he handed him this. He really did. Princeton, Syracuse, best women's lacrosse game of the year. North Carolina women, your A game is better than anyone else's A game, making you the team to beat. Marcus Morris saying he and Kawhi defend LeBron James the best when after 2 meetings this season and matching up head-to-head 55 times, LeBron averaged 43.6 points per 100 possessions. Marcus, the Stugotz, is strong in you. Marcus Morris, do me a favor. Don't ever put yourself in the same sentence as Kawhi Leonard again. Thanks. Just saw Marcus Morris bottled up LeBron, held him to 5 of 16 shooting. Forget everything I just said. He's better than Kawhi. Vegas, it's not so easy now, is it? Even though they eliminated Brad Marchand, the Lightning are still taking lickings. Update on the Ben Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph saga. Big Ben sent Mason a text wishing him good luck. By the way, I'm guessing Ben makes a lot of mistakes when texting. Fat fingers. Now we're hiring Sixers assistant coaches to be head coaches? Jesus. If you're going to hire assistants away from a team, I'd probably hire the ones that have been hanging around Brad Stevens. A minor league baseball game was delayed over the weekend when a snake slithered into center field and had to be caught by the grounds crew with a bucket. What was Rafael Palmeiro doing in center field? What happened there? What happened there? I thought Rafi was a first baseman, DH. I mean, what was he doing in the outfield there? It's not my fault. He was slithering around in the outfield. Anyway, Raptors president, Masai Ujiri? I have no idea.
It's your weekend observation.
How do you pronounce his name, this guy? Masai, yelling at Dwayne Casey after the Game 3 loss. Masai, do me a favor. Tell me what you've done. You think you could beat LeBron James with Serge Ibaka and Fred VanVleet? Dwayne Casey should have been yelling at you. There is nothing like a Dunkin' Donuts that also has a Baskin-Robbins. Oh. You like those? Why am I asking you that? Of course you do. 40 games in, the Yankees have 4 guys with at least 10 homers. And Dan, that's why they call them the Bronx Bombers. Pat Shermer wants Landon Collins to stop talking about Eric Flowers. Hey, Pat, how about you stop talking about what Landon Collins can talk about? Not sure if I'm alone on this, but I desperately want to beat the estimated time given to me by Waze. Webb Simpson looks better without the beard. Tiger Woods, Ryder Cup captain, collision course. Golf, small problem. I care more about the 2 guys who started the final round of the Players' Championship 10 strokes back than I do about the guy who was 10 strokes ahead. DirecTV, big problem. It's 2018. I still can't watch you when it rains. The 76ers have their eyes on LeBron and Kawhi. Who doesn't? In fact, I'm reporting every team has their eye on LeBron and Kawhi. Sixers also have their eye on Paul George. Why? Are they in the market for someone who has never hit a game-winning shot? And how many eyes do the Sixers have? The Celtics are better without Kyrie Irving and without Gordon Hayward. Congratulations to Rodney Hood for entering the game. Robinson Cano, tough break. Giancarlo Stanton, heating up. Dan, it's finally here. The start of the NBA season. Matt Harvey, first start for the Reds. 4 innings. Fake ace. Twins, playing some pretty good ball. The Twinkies, watch out for the Braves. The Bravos. Kyrie is known for his handles, but there's no way he handles this conference final well. How the hell did Danny Ainge know that Al Horford was better than LeBron James? Michael Wilbon ripping Washington fans for celebrating before winning a championship, a couple of years removed from appearing on SportsCenter in a Cubs jersey, celebrating the fact the Cubs merely made it to the World Series. Michael, the Stugotz is strong in you. Rodney Hood asking to come out of a game a week removed from refusing to go in a game. Rodney, the Stugotz is strong in you. Broncos head coach Vance Joseph said Paxton Lynch can relax and learn from Case Keenum. Here's what Vance was trying to say. Paxton Lynch isn't good. I mean, he's been relaxing for 2 years. Here's my take on Paxton Lynch. There is no way a quarterback with that facial hair will ever be good. And let me tell you, if Paxton Lynch is ever productive as a pro quarterback, Art Briles better grab a parka because it'll be a cold day in hell. Dan wasn't lazy that time. Those are the weekend observations.
Guillermo, put a couple of things on the poll there, please. Will a quarterback with that facial hair ever win a title? And also, is the rain a bankruptcy-soaked hole in DirecTV's game?
Dan Snoop Waterwolf isn't going to pay
You
for
are so
itself.
right. I hadn't considered that
twice
before.
yesterday.
Like, we got a lot of advancements going on, DirecTV. Let's go. The rain can't be influencing my internet connection.
I mean, you got that NFL package, man. If you didn't have that, this would be a major issue.
Rain's a lot down here, DirecTV. Get control of it.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Are you disturbed at all that Stugotz thinks extortion and blackmail are normal business practices?
Stugotz.
It has to drive you crazy because you are smart, you are well thought out, you are reasonable, you are balanced, and I just come in with blackmail, COB.
And they love you more.
Yep, spot on.
And I'm so envious. I want their love.
You're not going to get it.
Their love's important to me. I want the love of dumb people.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So people looked at the macro yesterday off of that loss. I heard a lot of people, when LeBron's losing by 25 in a playoff game, talking about how amazing his photographic memory is, because after the game he was asked a question and he was able to remember everything about the question he was being asked, and people were marveling in a 25-point loss where he was about as terrible as he's ever been in the playoffs, how he could remember things possession by possession.
The start of the fourth, I think they cut it to 14. Do you have any idea what, I think they scored 7 quick ones. Anything, what happened there?
What happened? We ran them the first possession. We ran them down all the way to 2 on the shot clock. Marcus Morris missed a jump shot, followed it up. They got a dunk. We came back down. We ran a set for Jordan Clarkson, and he came off and missed it. They rebounded it, and we came back on the defensive end, and we got a stop. They took it out on the sideline. Jason Tatum took the ball out, threw it to Marcus Smart in the short corner. He made a 3. We come back down, missed another shot, and then Tatum came down and went 94 feet, did a Euro step, and made a right-hand layup timeout. There you go.
We're clapping for him. That's a terrible job, because what the reporter was asking was a great question, because I actually wrote it down in my notes, was, LeBron, why'd you play so poorly first 2 minutes of the fourth quarter when we got the game to within 14 points? He made a lazy pass. He played lazy defense. He took a terrible shot. That's what she was asking, and he couldn't be decent enough just to give her the answer that she wanted. And we're applauding him there. Please. Please.
It is impressive.
Jordan would have never done that. Ever.
He would have just remembered it silently and humbly and never lost by 25.
He would have won the game. That's right. Because he won every game.
That's right.
That's it.
He was undefeated. No low.
It's disrespectful. The lady's there doing her job. She's asking him a question. He was so bad at the beginning of the...
Disrespectful.
Yes. You know what? Rattling off. Great. Your memory. Hey, let's all applaud LeBron James. Ha, 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 ha. Great. What if it was your question? She wanted an answer to a very fair question. Why, after getting some rest, headed into the fourth quarter, LeBron, why were you so lazy first 2 minutes of the fourth quarter? You played poorly. You cost your team the game. Why? And how about no cheering in the press box? I mean, what are we doing? And you're rooting against a fellow journalist. And you're rooting for LeBron James. A terrible job.
It wasn't. They weren't pitted against each other. Play it again. It's just LeBron remembering the details at the top of the fourth quarter.
The start of the fourth, I think they cut it to 14. Do you have any idea what? I mean, I think they scored 7 quick ones. Anything? What happened there?
What happened? We ran him the first possession. We ran him down all the way to 2 on the shot clock. Marcus Morris missed a jump shot, followed it up. They got a dunk. We came back down. We ran a set for Jordan Clarkson, and he came off and missed it. They rebounded it. And we came back on the defensive end, and we got a stop. They took it out on the sideline. Jason Tatum took the ball out, threw it to Marcus Smart in the short corner. He made a 3. We come back down, missed another shot. And then Tatum came down and went 94 feet, did a Euro step, and made a right-hand layup timeout. There you go.
You don't hear that? The clapping, the laughter. I mean, you're supposed to be on the journalist side. And by the way, he doesn't mention, what he failed to mention there was the guy who was supposed to close out Marcus Smart on that wide open 3 was LeBron James. Why didn't he do it after having 5 or 6 minutes of rest headed into the fourth quarter? Why did he play lazy? Answer that question. That's the question that was asked.
Well, I am impressed by LeBron in all ways. But when you care about something, when something is... If you care deeply, like really deeply, at the height of caring,
right,
you remember the details on things. Like, for example, Chris Cody, what did you have to eat this weekend?
Well, Dan, Friday night I had cheese pizza, garlic rolls with a cupcake for dessert. Saturday morning I went to IHOP, got some pancakes with a little scrambled eggs with cheese on it. Then I came home around lunch. I did a homemade turkey sandwich. Saturday night had a Longhorn Steakhouse, had a Parmesan-crusted filet mignon, medium well. Sunday, made breakfast for my wife for Mother's Day, egg and cheese sandwich with bacon on it. Then I went to a brunch, and then on Sunday night I had grilled cheese.
That sounds like a sad Sunday night.
There you go. There you go.
Dan Batard.
See how quick he is at slithering around
I'm
things?
good.
Like, yeah, you are good. You are a master liar.
Stugotz.
Like, you are a genius liar. You are like the Einstein of liars.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Mark Reynolds. He did what he does. He hit 2 home runs in his Nationals debut.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Does Mark Reynolds always open with 2 home runs? With whatever team he's debuting for.
Every new team.
He's got 7 teams he's got multi-homer games with.
Neymar is the Ligue 1 Player of the Year. And finally, Paul Anka. Anka. Tomato. Paul Anka and Drake are collaborating. How about that? Huh? Wedding season is upon us, and the easiest way to look fresh for your big day is with thebblacktux.com. The Black Tux has awesome suits and tuxedos that you rent online. To get $20 off your purchase, visit thebblacktux.com/Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
If you're new to the program, Stugotz is a bit of a cartoon character. He represents the average fan. The feelings inside him, slimy though they are real.
Whoa.
And if you had been watching him during the last break, what you would have seen is him learn that Jon Stewart and Dave Chappelle are going on tour together. And as he's talking to Mike about this news that he's discovered. He just blurts, best comedy tandem to ever do it together, right? That's got to be the biggest comedy act ever acting together. But while he does that, there's a chunk of white food that flies out of his mouth and lands on his chin.
Yep. Still there?
No, you got rid of it.
Parmesan cheese.
Is that what it was? Parmesan cheese?
I had a meatball parm today. Yeah, I still got like half of a half left. It's great.
Parmesan and not mozzarella?
Well, maybe it's mozzarella. I have no idea. It's one of those cheeses.
Really?
Sometimes this place is so good, the sandwich place. Sometimes they do a little mozzarella. They do both cheeses. They do.
I mean, this is an obvious lie.
An obvious lie.
Mike, the chicken parm has mozzarella sticks in it, or at least it used to.
You don't know what you're eating. You don't know what cheeses taste like, regardless. Yeah. Also happening during this, with food on his face, was him saying he's now down with legalized gambling. He's flipped his opinion on this. He's like, I preferred it as an illegal activity. It made me feel like a bad boy. And then on top of that, he's entertaining this terrible idea from Lorenzo in Washington. Because he just wants to inflate his character all the more. He wants Stugotz to get more things. So listen to this character Lorenzo in Washington is trying to create after this Supreme Court ruling. What are you shaking your head about, Guillermo?
Entertaining Lorenzo's ideas is always a mistake.
Yeah, and I'm about to make one right now because, listen, I like the idea of me somehow getting, some inroads here into the gambling scene now that it's legal. And I can give out some advice.
Stugotz is always looking for an angle.
Yes.
Right now, the Supreme Court just ruled on something, and Stugotz has not yet profited off of it. So, Lorenzo is the first guy to arrive at Stugotz's idea with a pitch.
Yeah.
Or at his character with a pitch.
An awful one. We had Jimmy the Greek, and now Lorenzo wants me to run with Stu the Jew. And one of the lines he gave me is, "This is my lucky of the week."
He loves it. Look, Stugotz loves it.
I love how bad it is.
Lorenzo actually sent that to me in a DM a while ago, and I go, Lorenzo, please do not put that on the side graphic of the screen. Please don't put that on television.
This is my lucky of the week.
Oy vey.
Well, that would be his signature line, would be oy vey on a bad beat or something. The character needs some work. Any other ideas?
That's all. That's as far as
That's
Lorenzo has gone.
All right.
So far.
Let's kill it right there. Let's have it die right there on the vine.
You know what? My lucky of the week today? I like the Warriors, man. The Warriors are absolutely, tonight, first half and for the game, are my luckies of the week. Oy vey. It's a 5-star of David Play. I mean, that. There might be something here. I don't know.
There is not. I mean, there might be something here only if your intent is to be awful. Let's update some of the polls here. I want to update some of the polls at Le Batard Show because we got a bunch of them today. We were heavy on the polls today. Guillermo, we wore you out. You okay back there? What's the matter?
Yeah.
All right, $2. Get out of here.
A real mensch.
Good work, okay? You got a real radio career ahead of you. Radio 101. The microphone comes to you. Talk.
Well, especially while one of the guys is filling time.
I mean, while I'm filling time trying to help Stugotz get the polls up, all I'm trying to do is look around the room to get something from somebody. So, Mike, give me something on Donald Glover.
Whoa, wow. Whoa. This guy has made such a change in his career. What a resurgence. He was laughed at. He was a millennial rapper before millennial rap started taking over. Everyone thought he was a punchline, not just with his music, but with his acting. And now he's the voice of a generation. It's incredible, the turn that he's taken. Even his demeanor, he carries himself totally different.
Did Billy not know he was on the air? Does he not know how to do radio?
How about a bet mitzvah? How about that? 13, you get an invitation to the bet mitzvah. Everyone just gathers around.
That's when you become a man, baby. when you lose the vig on a bad beat, it'll make you go from a boy to a man.
How about this one? My locks of the week. LOX. Oi, Vig.
He's going to make it something because he makes everything that's crappy into something. It should be a Vegas magic act, Stugotz. You walk in, you're like, I'm not going to laugh. Then you're like, it's awful. And then you're laughing. And he's got all your money. At Batard Show on Twitter.
The Oy Vey of the day. That's the bet to avoid. I'm telling you, Lorenzo.
Okay,
Genius.
you and Lorenzo, ride it into the sky. See what you can do. See if you could take the Supreme Court ruling and turn it into something special.
I mean, it's going to take some real chutzpah. But I think we can pull this thing off. I do. Yeah. Yep. You going to come to the bet mitzvah?
At Batard Show on Twitter.
Exciting.
Do you still not have the Twitter polls up?
No, I do, but
Roy, you got anything for me on the hockey playoffs? I'm going to just keep looking around the room, see if anyone's going to give me anything.
Well, it looks like the Capitals are going to cruise into the Cup final. And thanks, Chris. If the Golden Knights play anything like they did on Saturday, they might not last 5, unfortunately. And Fleury came in 5 games. Okay. And Fleury came in as the hot goaltender, but Game 1 was a disaster. It was a tough place to play in Winnipeg, so hopefully in Game 2 they'll do better.
It's always a tough place to play. Winnipeg's always a tough place to play.
So you're saying the Capitals are a lucky?
Yes.
At Batard Show.
I have the polls, by the way.
Yeah, I've been asking you for them.
They're here. They're ready. Hello. Shalom.
Stugotz, go.
Oh, you want them? Are the Morris twins the symbol for the most average NBA starter? 80% of the audience said yes. Is Marlon Byrd the rare athlete named after a fish and a bird? 91% of the audience said yes. How could you say no to that? Is adultery okay or is it not okay? 61% of the audience said not okay. What aspects of caddies is the most valuable? Advice or carrying the bag? 82% of the audience said carrying the bag. Is finding out Tokyo Drift fits 8th and not 3rd on the Fast and Furious timeline interesting? 57% of the audience said no. True or false? You don't have to be curious when you know. 80% of the audience said true. Can you be on the right side of offensive? 53% of the audience said yes. Isn't it upset that Cole Beasley has a rap album? 76% of the audience said yes. Did you like gambling better when it was in the shadows? 74% of the audience said yes. We'll miss you. Will a quarterback with that facial hair ever win a title? 70% of the audience said no. When the Celtics eventually win a title, will they give a ring to Prokhorov? 65% of the audience said yes. Now it's early here, Dan. Does Mark Reynolds hit 2 home runs every time he debuts for a new team? 96% of the audience thus far has said yes. Those are the polls.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Dan Batard.
Bleep yeah! Bleep yeah!
Stugotz.
Bleep no! Bleep no!
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So LeBron James loses by 25. That team, such that it is, has been a mishmash mess all season. They blew it up at the halfway point, just got him a bunch of other guys, should just say new guys, on the back of their uniforms. And so he takes that hodgepodge into the playoffs and predictably wheezes in the first round in a way that didn't surprise many people because Cleveland's been a mess all season. The surprise was that he was able to dispatch Toronto that easily.
Yes.
But now he finds himself against an opponent that's a lot like Indiana.
Correct.
And that Game 7 is going to be on the road if there's a Game 7 in that series. And while he could flip everything over in the next game, if he were to be exiting Cleveland, if he's already made that decision, Game 1 is what it would look like.
Yes.
If he, in his head, has made that decision of, I'm gone for sure, I don't want to be here anymore, and he's like, I'm not winning in the next round. Like, if those are the questions you want to throw around him, and they've been asked, they were asked inside the Miami Heat organization during that last Spurs finals, which seemed ridiculous to me because I'm looking at the stat line. It's impossible to have the stat lines he had in that finals and not be trying your hardest, but he got accused of that. When Boston kept knocking him out of the playoffs before his decision to come to Miami.
Here's the problem with LeBron. I hate doing this, but this is the problem with LeBron. So, and I know you hate the topic LeBron and Jordan. I'm not going to do it, but this is the problem. The mere fact that a sensible, smart, intelligent person like yourself, reason, nuance, is having this conversation with me is the exact reason why people will never say LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. Now, Dan, the fact that you're sitting here and thinking to yourself, when should I exit? Because I want to play for a new team next year.
Hold on a second.
It's crazy.
It's not crazy. It's the new power in sports where you could be a free agent in a capitalistic America that grants you freedoms. Like, it's not, I mean, at the end, Michael Jordan, betrayed by the owner in Washington, left the organization with his tail between his legs, a terrible indignity at the end of his career to be run out of Washington. He ended up with another team in free agency. Like, I don't want to
talk about the competitiveness, but yes, that's the way it would have looked.
Well, I will say this is confusing. That result yesterday is confusing, even if you understand one game samples. LeBron James doesn't go 5 for 16. When does LeBron James go 5 for 16 and you're looking at him and you're like, he looks sluggish. He's not going to the rim. Like, I know Boston's got youth and I know Boston's got length, but LeBron James gets what he wants. LeBron James is going to put up not 5 for 16s in the rest of the playoff games you will watch over the course of your life.
LeBron James doesn't let someone like Marcus Morris be right. He usually clowns the Lance Stevenson character.
Yes.
And what you have to marvel at, though, and this is a bit crazy, it really is, because he's been at it for 12 years, and it's why some of you are sick of him, and it's why some of you are sick of this network always talking about him. Good God Almighty, he always makes it interesting.
Always.
Like, if he wins yesterday, that's less interesting than what happened. If he wins yesterday, you're just like, yeah, he's going to keep winning because he always wins. But now he's down 25, he's down 1-0, and when he's being asked about it, he's like, I'm the last person to ask about concern, okay? I've got 0% concern. I've been down 0-1 before. It doesn't matter whether you lose by 1 or lose by 25. But this, no matter how great he thinks he is, and no matter how great he actually is, this is a ragtag bunch he's got around him, man. That Rodney Hood thing that you said before was funny. Asking to come out.
Right. Asking to come out of a game a week removed from refusing to go in a game.
Apologizing for refusing to go in a game.
I understand what they did in trading Isaiah Thomas and trading Dwayne Wade. But these were still names, and the playoffs didn't look as sad as Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson. I mean, LeBron can't even remember Clarkson's name.
I love that. For all the celebration of the photographic memory, his teammates have been around such a little amount of time that he doesn't even remember their names. Like, everybody's talking about, whoa, it's amazing. He knows the fourth quarter, and he's still calling Jordan Clarkson Jordan Crawford.
So you're wondering, and I think everyone's doing this, is this the way it's going to end this time around in Cleveland, or is he going to be able to kind of pull it out? Because during the pregame show today, I was kind of mocking the media, saying we're going to make this mistake again, where we start to question and doubt LeBron James. Like, how many times are we going to do it before you learn your lesson? Because I feel like LeBron's going to come out in game 2. I could be wrong, obviously, but I feel like that he's going to score like 40 to 50, and the Cavs are going to win by 15.
But what I'm telling you, right, is as we keep expecting that, as everyone keeps expecting, of course, LeBron's going to end up in the finals some way. Referees, calls, the NBA needs him in the finals some way. You do realize, though, that if it were to happen, Yesterday is what it would look like.
Yes.
Like if it happens again in the second game, you'd be like, wait a minute, 5 for 16. How are they doing that? How are they limiting? What did he have? 7 turnovers?
I think so. I'll check on it right now. Yep, at 5 of 16, 7 turnovers, minus 32.
But all of the elements I'm talking about, Boston, well coached, long, young, guarding the perimeter, making J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver and the three-point shooters look useless. Or we could just say Cleveland didn't make its threes yesterday. Is it that simple?
Could be.
I like comparing Boston to Indiana. They went to we forget they went to a Game 7. That Raptors series was all about what was going on in the Raptors' heads. They psyched themselves out before that series started. I'm not putting any stock in what happened in that Cavs.
We know
Raptors
this
series.
Cleveland team is not good. We know that it is led by an immortal great. But when he's 5 for 16, that ain't anybody's immortal great. 5 for 16 with 7 turnovers. What was he, minus 32 in the game?
Minus 32, yeah. They were 4 of 26 for a team. Like, none of that stuff's going to continue. I'm sorry.
Right,
not him as an individual, not them as a team.
No, you're correct. You're correct. They came in. You saw what they did in Toronto in Game 2, where we were all like, Toronto's got to be a betting favorite there. They're 6.5-point favorite. They got to be. I know that just because, I got to pay attention to betting lines now. I knew the Supreme Court ruling was coming out.
None of that will happen again in Game 2 unless he wants it to happen. And that's the beauty of LeBron James. Everyone's going crazy this time of year.
Yes, he keeps it interesting. One loss. And where's he going to end up next year?